Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of They Say. I am so honored. My name is Allison McFarland, founder and CEO of Allison McFarland Inc. And as always, I'm just here to bring great guests who give great information and are just pillars in our community. So I am honored to have Jewel here. I have watched him and he's doing fantastic work, phenomenal work. He's setting a stage for Black men. And as a woman that has a Black father and a brother and a nephew, I salute you because I am 100% agreement that we need more African American men in those executive level positions. So we are going to have a phenomenal conversation. Jewel is doing some amazing things. So without further ado, Jewel, I'll let you introduce yourself. I'm pretty sure you need no introduction. Like I said, everybody's probably going to go crazy when they see this, but please tell us who you are.
Allison, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for carving out some time for us to have this conversation. So just a bit about me. I am from Oakland, California, but then we moved to Alameda. It's a really nice small suburb right outside of Oakland. Very multicultural environment. Anybody that's from the Bay Area knows, on Monday you're eating Japanese food, Tuesday it's Ethiopian, Wednesday it's Thai, etc. Mexican is every day for lunch, something like that. So that's the San Francisco Bay Area. I went to undergrad at UC Santa Barbara, got my BA in Black Studies, hugely helpful for what I do now, as you can imagine. Did very good there academically, met some of my best friends, still in touch till this day. Graduated, and from there, I really looked around the business world to see what I wanted to get involved with. But at the same time, because I'm somebody that really likes to study profound topics and understand really on a psychological level, like, why are we here? What is really the purpose? That's something that always spoke to me as well. I started to study psychology, and I got my master's in clinical psychology from Antioch University in Los Angeles. Did extremely well there. Graduated, and then started on my 3,000 internship hours. I started off at El Centro de Amistad first, and that was in Los Angeles. And then I moved to the Bay Area and worked at the Foothill Community Health Center. And then from there, moved on to L'Haim, PHP, and then worked under Eugene Porter. He's a Jamaican American. He teaches at universities in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he was my direct supervisor. And he helped me start Black Executive Men. So we're talking about 8 years ago.
Wow.
A few years later, I completed my hours, passed my ethics exam and clinical exam on the first try, and then was licensed to practice psychotherapy on my own in the state of California and continue to grow Black Executive Men. From there, my reputation began to expand. And so I used my networking skills and got paid contracts to do Black mental health workshops for mid-level and senior leaders at Google and Microsoft and NVIDIA and Pepsi and PayPal and Capital One and a bunch of other organizations. And then my reputation grew nationally from that point. It was probably around that time that I decided to pivot away from psychotherapy, where I was curing depression, anxiety, other mental illnesses, and pivot to coaching.
Okay.
And from coaching, that's just been pretty explosive, the growth. And frankly, the reason why is because corporate accepts coaching a lot more than therapy, as you might imagine. So that's what I've been doing for the past few years, high ticket coaching, working with a lot of mid-level and senior Black leaders, entrepreneurs as well. Now dipping into the VC space and private equity space and the angel space, and really looking to build out an elite membership network of brothers at Fortune 500 companies that are looking to get to senior leadership, partnering them with C-level Black men. Yes, they do exist. Of course, they exist alongside Black men in public boards as well. So just a bit about me. So excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, Joel, that's so awesome. So, I'm from SoCal, so NorCal, SoCal. I love that. Yes, Bay Area. I went to college in LA. So I'm like, oh, you're speaking my language. I miss home. But let's talk about this transition you made, sir. So you understand the importance of pivoting and just opening up the world to yourself. And I just love that, like how you have just really taken that life by the horns and really created your own path. So where are you at now? Because you made a big move.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we can even talk about, we'll put that in terms of travel for a moment. So, like I said, originally from the Bay Area, and frankly, loved it there, and thought I was going to be there for my whole life.
Yeah.
Where else would I really, really want to spend my life? And I had traveled in Italy and Ghana and other places in Europe, and I had been to Mexico before, things like that. But the thought of actually living outside of the United States really didn't cross my mind too much until there's just a lot of this, like political tension and other tensions. And I was, in the world of mental health and thinking, well, I think this is really important piece of the puzzle, that mental health is not always just connected to speaking with a therapist or something like that.
Right.
It can also be connected to the culture and the people that's
Mhm.
taking place around you, because we're a product of our environment.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and travel South America. I traveled to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries, and spent 2 years traveling and running my business, digital nomad style, out of cafes and Airbnbs, and
Love it.
growing it and hiring and firing and doing all that wonderful stuff. Even doing conference keynotes just on my laptop. I remember I led. It's going to be brief. I led so I was in Colombia, out near Santa Marta.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a natural preserve out there, and they have some really nice kind of hotel environments out there. And so I remember being one of those, and I was looking out over the ocean, and at the same time I had my computer and I'm leading this workshop on the coast of Colombia, and they have no clue that I'm living my best life, but at the same time helping to impact people's lives in a positive way.
That's
So
awesome.
that kind of stuff was going on for a while, and ultimately I landed in Mexico. I've been
Yes.
here for 18 months, and this is my new home, and exploring what residency looks like here.
I love that. And I love that you're adventurous with your travel and you just went around and you continue to go around. So, what I really want to talk about, there's so much I want to talk about because like I said, your work is so impactful. And I commend you for realizing that you could make a bigger impact by getting out of that, traditional office setting of mental health, but really come into that coaching space. Because you're right, corporate America won't necessarily accept okay, I'm going to see you to therapy, but hey, coaching sounds much better. And it speaks to the language of those corporations. So how has that transition been for you since are you still doing one-on-ones, or is it more like a group setting, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I'm still doing one-on-ones. I'll probably always do one-on-one. I just
Okay.
love the personal connection
Yeah.
and walking through, walking people, my clients, specifically Black men in the corporate space, through a transformational process where they really
Yes.
get to what we call unlock the juggernaut inside of them. And the difference is mainly between having an employee mindset and a CEO mindset. And the key differentiator there is looking to and waiting for one's organization to provide them with kind of everything they need for their career, their training, their raises, promotions, new assignments, you name it. And then the other way is really taking your career by the horns and saying, well, what professional development am I going to need to get to where I want to go? And even making that decision on one's own of, I want to be a C-level leader or an EVP or a VP or going in private equity, whatever it is. And then taking those action steps to get there, not waiting on their organization to provide that for them, which is a very dangerous place to be. So I'm going to be continuing doing one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
However, there's a larger opportunity at play, really, to provide thousands, frankly, of Black mid-level manager and directors with not just the skill sets, but, and Allison, you especially know this, the network in order to advance. And what most people listening probably know, but some people may not know, and it's always good to get a refresher, is that corporation works based on networks and clubs. Now, I know the meritocracy conversation, there's a place for that always, which I call the 100% formula, meaning always giving it 100%. There's no substitute for that.
Right.
But imagine this. If you were born into a family with two parents that are C-level leaders in Fortune 500 company, and they went to Harvard, you're going to Harvard. Your chances of getting into a VP role minimum, it's extremely high.
Yep.
And it's because that's your network. You know,
Yep.
the vocab, you have the relationships, there's people vouching for you. It's just a given. And frankly, here we view that as a positive thing. And for our
Yes.
community to reach this level of success, to be able to usher our kids into success as well. So, what we're doing is making sure that our guys have the networks to reach the top. And many mid level guys do know, but many still don't know. That's what's going to take you to the top. And that's a different skill set than
Yep.
what got you to the middle.
Yep. And I appreciate you saying that, because oftentimes we hear this favorite saying that people, it's like who you know, not who knows you. So now I definitely think we're at a point where people need to be saying your name, and they need to know your name more than you knowing their name. Like, so the thing about Joel that I love so much, his reputation went before him. So even before I connected with him, I already knew about him here in Houston. So his reputation is in Houston, and not just in Houston, but it's other people. Then I was like, oh, I'm talking to them. And then other people in other places knew about him. And they're like, yes, Allison, he's great. So I do like a vetting process of who I'm putting on They Say, just to make sure they align with my values and what I'm trying to bring. And I think I wrote this on LinkedIn today. A good name is to be treasured. A good name and a good reputation. I don't think we understand that enough as minorities and people, that people are talking even when you don't realize it. So just be careful with how your reputation, how you carry yourself, right? What would you say to that, Joel?
So there's a brother, his name is Prathan, and he runs the Black and HR network. And
Okay.
He's successful in what he does. And I think he mentioned me or posted, we go back and forth all the time and supporting each other on our posts, this, that, and the third. And he mentioned me in his community. And somebody popped up and said, I remember him from college.
Wow.
This was 20 years ago. And I was very active and very impactful at UC Santa Barbara undergrad. I helped co-found the African Black Coalition. It united the African and Black student unions all throughout the UC school system. It's still going strong today. They've included CSUs, CCs, and out-of-state colleges as well. And so your reputation, yes, you know, people talk, especially in our community, we talk anyway, but it is not, it's only one person away to find out about you.
Yeah.
It's a two max to find out your character and how you show up, and if you add value or you're showing up to extract value. I think the good thing is there's always an opportunity to change how we show up going forward. But you know, if something challenging has happened in the past, that's going to stay with people for life. So your reputation truly precedes you and can open doors for you or close them, depending.
Yes. And I think that is so important, especially in that space of going to that VP to ED or CEO or SVP, all those great titles, right? I think that's so important, especially as you're creating this community, because it's something powerful that our counterparts and colleagues understand, the power of community. Even if they don't necessarily get along all the time, you'll never know it. They know how to maneuver in a sense where you would never know they don't like someone because they're willing to help that person elevate, and it's no sweat off their back. So I think
Locked in culturally. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I was just talking to a Jewish friend of mine 2 days ago, and he said, I'm on this WhatsApp group, and there's 400 investors, founders, in nation, and we're supporting one another and we're showing up for one another. And I said, you know what? I think in our community, it's really a point of pride many times, the lone wolf.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was able to do it on my own. And I think that can work to mid-level. But frankly, I don't know people that have been able to move that way and get to any kind of high 6-figure, 7-figure salaries, bonus, equity, et cetera, like that, or any kind of senior leadership role. It's based on relationships, and definitely in our community, but also with other ethnicities and people of other backgrounds. You know, corporate is, whatever they say about it, it's a very multicultural place. And having that social and emotional IQ is what can help take you from mid-level to the top, not just your skill set, but those pieces as well.
Oh, I like that. So, Joel, for those who don't know about that social and emotional IQ, go into that a little bit because that's powerful.
Yeah. So the social IQ, I mean, they oftentimes can intertwine that with politics, but it's being able to read a room. It's being able to know what people want. And folks, it's not always money. People are motivated by a lot of different things.
Yep.
And know how you can show up and support people in order for them to open doors for you. The emotional piece is being able to read the emotional climate of what's taking place and knowing how certain words are going to either ramp things up, turning them down, and then being conscious before you make that choice of, well, where do you want it to go and how can it impact your career? Folks, one thing I say all the time, there's your professional self, there's your personal self. These are different. Now, your professional self, you're going to weave in elements of who you are personally, right? Talk about your family in a certain way. You talk about your hobbies, certain hobbies that are additive to your professional identity, but people are hiring you not for your personal identity. They're hiring you for what you can do for that business,
Right.
or that workplace. So the emotional pieces, being able to read accordingly, the social pieces, I just can't understate nor overstate how important both of those are to advance.
I agree.
So, Allison, can I add one last piece to that?
Of course. Yeah, let's go.
And you know how effective you're doing based on your results. Based on if you're getting the promotions, if you're
Yes.
getting the raises, if you're getting the looks, or your career is kind of topped out, where
Yeah.
people are writing you up. And
Yeah.
this is, we just got to speak from the heart and direct,
Yes,
and based
please.
on my experience.
Please.
I've seen brothers that are at the very top of the game, light skin, dark skin,
Yeah.
oily hair, wavy hair, bass voice, nasal voice,
Right.
tall, short. It's primarily based on the skill sets that they have in making the decision of where they're going to reach. And in the universe, if we want to get religious, God makes a way for them. So
Yes.
these are the key pieces that we make to determine our own success, not pulling away from the racisms and the bias that do exist in society.
So I'm gonna throw a curveball at you just on a personal experience, so you could speak to this, because I have found that my biggest challenging boss and leaders usually are African American men. I usually get much like direction, kudos from my white counterparts and colleagues and upper management. Like, they tend to love me. But I have found, as African American woman, that Black men are not that fond of me when it comes to leadership. So why? I don't know. I know you can't. I didn't give you enough, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only woman that's ever came to you with this.
Yeah, I think that's more than enough. In terms of a dynamic we have to talk about openly and really dive into some advanced, which we know, but some advanced perspectives on it, because it's nuanced for us in the corporate space. We have various layers that are going on how we speak, how we talk, how we literally position our bodies in meetings to make people comfortable or uncomfortable. All of this stuff, we are tracking hundreds of things in order to obtain mastery in these corporate environments. So I put an article out last year, and it's called Walking the Tightrope. And it talks about executive racial bias for Black men in corporate America. But I believe it can spill over to Black women as well. Allison, you let me know. And so the dynamic essentially is that, so let's say you got a brother who's, let's just say, VP, and he's hiring for, let's say, a new team, new division, something like that. But let's say, it's relatively small and he just needs 5 people. Let's say 3 of them happen to be African American. Everybody's watching him, and everybody wants those roles. So what are his non-Black, which are going to be the vast majority of other senior leaders around him, thinking when they see 3 out of 5 Black people show up, have got the roles?
Okay.
Well, they might just think that the most qualified people were hired. That's a possibility.
Okay.
What's another possibility? That there might have been some preference given to those Black staff.
Okay.
They share that bond. So what you have directly or indirectly is a microscope on us in senior leadership around how we move racially and
Mm-hmm.
who we support. And sometimes we execute it better than others, but that's a dynamic that typically our non-Black peers, they're not worried about when they're speaking with us and coaching us and mentoring us. Frankly, they get bonus points at times
Yeah.
for reaching outside of their circle and bringing people up. Now, I'm not saying that the efforts aren't from the heart and genuine.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about at all. We're talking about a very deep racial analysis that runs 2, 3, 4 layers deep.
Yeah.
That many Black men and women at times, I mean, I think you'd be best to tell me, speaking from that perspective, that we're dealing with and trying to navigate. Whereas if that wasn't there and all those different pressures weren't there, my guess is our experiences would be quite different. But that's my take on it.
That's interesting. Well, I wanted your take because I feel like you sit on a different playing field and you would give a different perspective. So I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. So Jewel, you're doing something really
and Allison, if you want to connect with some great brothers for any kind of mentorship, you name it, collaboration, you're talking to the right guy. I'd be happy to make some connections. All right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you're gonna restore my hope, which they're gonna get on me.
I got some
they're gonna get on me, but I do know some phenomenal Black men that are just doing some great things. I am related to 2 or 3.
Good.
So yeah. But it's a serious, not to be funny, but it's something serious that I have experienced in my corporate growth and in climbing the corporate ladder. It was definitely something that I had experienced.
Yeah.
So
Allison, can I just touch on it real quick? I mean, that's such an important topic, right?
Okay.
That's so important of a topic. And so there may be something to be said around, be it a level of division in our community, which we don't necessarily need to talk about exactly where that came from and how that came about, but just to talk about the opportunities that still exist. So the tagline for Black executive men is stronger together. Now we focus on just Black men, and Allison, you might say, well, this might be a Black men and women's dynamic. And I'll tell you, because if any of you out there ever see or have seen or even see my post in the future, and I'll talk about Black male mentors in the senior leadership, you'd be surprised how many entry-level and mid-level Black men say, bring up the word gatekeepers and I can't reach them. They said they would help and they wouldn't help. And when I've reached out to some of these guys and I really dug in to, so tell me about your efforts to connect. What have you done? They say, well, you know what? I reached out on LinkedIn and I hadn't heard anything back. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. What else have you done?
Right.
I went to the conference. I shook their hand. They said, reach out. I reached out. I never heard from them. I'm like, okay. So I think, and so I get it on a Black community, just having that connection. Some people, kind of wanting that, frankly, from a psychological level, there might even be uncle or father dynamics that people are like, maybe happened or didn't happen. And now it's a reflection of that. But I think for everybody to know, and I really want to share this piece, but briefly, is they're receiving those communications potentially by the hundreds on a monthly basis from junior level Black staff and others to guide them, mentor them, and coach them. And so while, especially the guys that I've come across, they genuinely want to make an impact, they're not in truly a position to just reach back, coach, guide, mentor, sponsor. Everyone comes their way. And a key to closing that gap is really doing research on them, listen to their podcast, follow their LinkedIn, analyze their LinkedIn account, add value when they post. You can make a nice comment. If they have a book, buy it, read it. And so once you then reach out to them, you can come to them from a very personalized place of showing that you're a true student and you're ready to add value, not just subtract value from the relationship. We can talk about this, on and on and on, but for my junior level Black men who are listening and not getting those responses, these are just some slight tweaks, social IQ that can help you get into their inbox and help you to get some responses as well. Just had to plug that in there.
No, so I love that, because I am in a position now where I don't have time to sponsor and mentor because I'm building. So people often get offended when I tell them that I just don't have that time right now. But what I have found with who I have surrounded myself around, and thank God I understood the importance of social and emotional and just really getting to know people. I think that's really what it comes down to, really getting to know them and show them why you're valuable to their network. Why does me spending this time with you add value to what we've got going on? So I think that's the biggest thing, really getting to know people and doing the work, just like you said. There are probably thousands of people coming at you, trying to get your attention and get services and stuff from you, but really understanding who is your ideal client, what is really going to fit in your space, and how committed are you to the process of what it takes to get to that next level, right, Joel? Because it truly is, it's a commitment. And it's one thing I love that you said. A lot of corporations are not necessarily spending the money for you to elevate your career. There's not much of a budget for that. But how invested are you into getting to that next level where you're willing to put that money that is not just going to be a long-term investment? That it could possibly be a short-term investment too, that pays off in the short term and the long term. And I feel like people get so short-sighted, not understanding the value of getting the proper coaching or the proper in the proper circles, just to understand what it takes to work at such a high level and be around high level leaders.
Yeah, I think if it was talked about in our MBA schools or master's programs, better yet, even undergrad, hey, when you get out into the professional world, especially if you're going to go into corporate, you need to be working with professionals that can provide you with services, maybe a communications specialist, somebody that can help you with your personal branding, somebody that can help you with executive presence. And don't just rely on your company, because they'll give you some of that, but their goal is to push their product or service, and just to give you kind of what you need to help them with their goal. But in reality, you're your own entity that is contracted with another entity, and you're only going to be working together as long as it's beneficial, well, for sure for them, but for both of you all. So that's why I say keep your CEO hat or owner's hat on, to think about how can you constantly advance your own product, your own service, your own business, because you're just it's kind of like doing a business deal. They literally give you a contract when they want to hire you, to tell you, what's going to be included and what the responsibilities are. So I think it's just, here's the notice. It could be better if it happened in undergrad or grad school. I think more people that are looking for that would just have it and know it, but it doesn't happen. These are the hidden rules of success in the corporate arena. And so if you play by them, you get so big. And if you don't, you can find yourself topped out and frustrated and thinking it's, racism, the economy, a bad boss. And it may be some of those things, but you have other people that are dealing with the exact same dynamics and crushing it. What are they doing different? These are some of the things.
That's good. And that's powerful. And I think this is why you sit where you sit. So keep doing the work. It's so important. And like you said, I think my personal goal of why it was important for me to bring you on They Say is because I do want to see more Black men in that C-suite space, in that EVP space, in that SVP space, and those moving in that mid-level go to that executive level. But I often feel like they don't feel like it's possible. So having people like you on here giving information to show them, hey, it's possible, but how bad do you want it? That's what it comes down to me.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I started meeting with brothers that had this level of income and seniority, I'll admit my mind was blown. It was impressive. I mean, for many people, this is a hidden class of
Yeah.
black men. I mean, if they're not in your direct family or you're not directly in the corporate world, and even if you are, you still might be saying there's none of us at the top. Maybe you're just focusing on your own organization, or you're just not, tapped in to those spaces. You still might not know, but I think there's a huge opportunity, even in the media space, to present us in these
Mhm.
positive, um, in a very positive light.
Yep.
Because many of the guys that I work with, super successful, family men, impact driven, and there's a lot of us that just don't know that they even exist. So even from a kind of media opportunity, the opportunity is huge for us to show us
Yeah.
the greatness that's in our
Yes.
community and what's
Yes.
possible. And the whole, see it and believe it thing, that's huge for us in our community. And I think it could open up a lot of brothers' minds that, oh, not only is this possible, but there's a piece of what I add in is this expected. Now that's
Yep.
very different from what I offer than I think a lot of my contemporaries in the
Mhm.
coaching spaces. When you come over here, it's not just what do you want to do, it's
Mhm.
what I expect you to do. And that's a different angle on it. When somebody has an expectation of us, it can really have us push through barriers we might not have done through
Right.
otherwise.
Right.
So, yeah, it's good to surround yourself with people that have high expectations for you.
I love that. I love that. And don't run from them. Because I definitely live in a space of high expectations. I think that's why I've been so fortunate enough to achieve and be around so many amazing people. So, Jewel, with that being said, I want to make sure we touch on your book that is coming out, which
Right.
I am excited about. So, please tell us more.
This book is going to be huge. It's called Born Driven, the executive blueprint for Black men in corporate America. And it's a great story, actually, about Mike and Phil. Now, Mike and Phil have a chance meeting that takes place in an airport lounge, and they both have layovers. So they
Mm.
show up. I mean, this is a huge surprise. They went to Morehouse together to get their bachelors. They went to HBS, Harvard Business School. They got
Yeah.
their MBAs together. But then after that, they kind of split and went their own separate ways. And so now we're 20 years later. They're reuniting. It's daps. They got the hug. They sit down in the leather chairs. They order the whiskeys. They're sitting down, laughing, talking about life. And then the conversation opens up, and it turns out that Mike actually has reached a COO level. He's got a
Mm.
seven-figure salary, a huge impact in the community, sitting on a few boards, public and private. His career, he's crushing it. While Phil, his career topped out at mid-level management. Phil hasn't had a promotion in 5 years,
Wow.
and he's earning, his somewhere in the 200s,
Wow.
let's say. So not bad, but in terms of what's possible, uh, not even close to the top. And
Wow.
he's upset about where he's at professionally, and he doesn't know how to reach the top. So over the next 10 chapters, Mike breaks down the steps that he took to reach the top and coaches Phil on how he can do the same. So if you want those lessons, definitely pick up a copy of Born Driven.
So that is phenomenal and that is amazing. And the crazy part is my brother went to Morehouse. So I'm like, man, I need to get him this book. When is it coming out? Like he needs it like yesterday.
Absolutely. So we're looking at whether it's going to be traditional published or self-published, but we're looking at 2025. So be
Okay.
on the lookout. It's a big year, 2025 coming. So be on the lookout for that resource.
Awesome. But that speaks to something that people don't think about. So those HBCUs and certain HBCUs really hold a different stature in our community, like the Morehouses of the world. It's definitely an elite group of African American men.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So we talked on your book. So you said you we did go over your membership, but I really want to hone in on that because that was important. And I think if they're not running to get to be part of your mentorship, then something is wrong. So I want to make sure we revisit that. because I feel like now is the time, because we're at such a pivotal moment in the world where a lot of things are moving. So I feel like the best thing to do when things are moving is get the knowledge you need so you can make sure you're moving too. So Joel, tell us again about your elite membership.
Yeah. So I just want to put a little bit of context around it as well for people that are not so familiar with premium membership organizations, things like that. So even just going back to African Black Coalition at UC Santa Barbara, that ended up having a few thousand members of it. So just getting an understanding on how to run a larger organization is something I'm very familiar with. Probably about 10 years ago, I sat on the national board of the Mankind Project. It's a men's initiatory organization that includes components of healing and also career development. And they have tens of thousands of members in that organization. So just seeing and guiding from a high level is something I have experience in and a lot of comfort in as well. And then taking a look at organizations in corporate like Chief, they have a 20,000 member membership, or woman membership. They focus on executive women. 60,000 person wait list, $140 million in funding, a $1 billion valuation, and very tapped in to a lot of organizations. So, whether you're familiar with them and you feel good about them, or you don't feel like it's for you, or this, that, and the third, they have that presence, and they're not only one. So they have the G100, they have the World 50, they have Onyx, they have the ELC. So these are organizations that you all may or may not be familiar with. But when I said it's a club and it's a network, I meant that. Yep. C-level leaders and VPs, they're networked in not just one, but 2, 3, 4 levels deep. So when they move from circle to circle to circle, these are layers deep. They're not spending so much time in the public arena, which is why you're not just going to see them walking around or just see them randomly. They're in pockets of networks, which are typically premium networks, where they're have paid and now they're an alumni, or they're paying ongoing, probably anywhere from, I don't know, $3,000 to maybe $40,000 to be a part of on an annual basis. And what it provides them, we might as well just talk very openly here, is it's not only who's in it, but who's not in it. And that's about as raw as it's going to get for you all folks today. And I really want you to have that information. Now, you may like that or not like that, but that kind of is what's going on, is people are paying for exclusivity and to be networked in with people on their level, if you will, that are going to help them to advance, and not spending that much time with people that they have to mentor, give back to, where they're not receiving something from it. Now, these individuals do have mentorship activities in their lives, but when it comes down to their own personal and professional development, they want to be around people that are at their level or higher. It puts them into hyper growth. So that's what we're building out for Black men in corporate America. The opportunity is through the roof. It's a multi-billion-dollar market. I think we saw maybe quite a bit of emphasis, George Floyd being murdered, of funding and resources coming to our community. That's very quickly, if not already, dried up in many ways. So there's just a huge opportunity to meet the need of brothers that are looking for opportunities to get the skill set in networks to advance. We break it down to 8 to 12 man cohorts where you're meeting with an executive coach. These are monthly 2-hour meetings where you're going to have a safe space to open up about the challenges in your career and get the best practices on how to move forward. But it's not just about peer mentorship. It's about being able to meet in a group format with C-level Black men, which can be very hard to meet otherwise, that you get to hear their story, how they got to the top, what their mentality is, but also have a live Q&A for you to begin getting your questions answered and building relationships with these guys as well. This type of opportunity doesn't exist in this format in corporate America. So it truly is an opportunity to fast track your career and be supported in what can be a very isolating and potentially aggravating experience on the job. So we're excited to launch this. Me and my COO, super passionate about it. And if you're interested, is that okay to share?
No, yes, that was the next direction I was going with you. So you beat me to it. So please tell us everything.
Yeah, if you're interested in checking us out, please head to blackexecutivemen.com. You can scroll around the site, check out our information, get your questions answered, frequently asked questions. We have the answers there. If it looks like it could be a good fit for you, you're welcome to submit your application. As I've shared earlier, this is for managers and directors, Black men, Fortune 500 organizations. If you get approved there, we move you on to it's a 30-minute interview. If you pass that, we send you over and get your background check done, handle the financial information, and then we onboard you onto the community. So just want to make sure you all know that resource is available. We not only want you to reach the top, we expect it.
I love that. And Joel, I feel like before we get off of They Say, I always ask, and I don't know if you'll have one, but let's see. Let's try it. I always ask my guests, what is their they say? If you overcame any type of opposition to get where you're at, and what kind of rooted you in that to help you propel forward?
Yeah, so my dad is a successful businessman, and so that was always in my mind that was doable, possible, and normal. So they said that we're going to go way back, psychotherapy business focused on Black men, that there are not enough Black men that want therapy. Black men don't want therapy. Black men will not pay premium prices for therapy. Are you sure that's what you really want to do?
Right.
So they say was don't focus on Black men in terms of psychotherapy, but I already had the insights and just knew that if therapy was marketed in the right way to us, the need was through the roof and it would be successful. My thesis has been correct.
Awesome. Well, Joel, and please, again, before we get off, please tell our guests, how do they find you? Because they need to find you. So how do they find you?
Yeah. And I also extend it to my folks in the venture capital community, private equity community, even the angel community. You're welcome to reach out. I just love building my network. We may have some networking events for you all as well. Be on the lookout for that. blackexecutivemen.com is where you can learn about the elite membership network. But I'd say just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm a very social person. Allison, you can tell I love to chat.
Yes.
I'm a social butterfly of sorts and just like to network with people. So you're more than welcome to reach out, say, hey, Joel, I saw you on the program. I'd love to put 15 minutes on your calendar for us to network as well.
I love it. And I thank you again for your time, your knowledge, your wisdom. And I am so excited for you and what you have coming up. And please, we'll definitely have to bring you back because I want you to also talk about that VC space, because that is a special space. And it's one that's near and dear to my heart also. So we'll definitely have to have you back. But thank you so much, Joel. I really appreciate it.
Allison, thank you.
No problem. And guys, that concludes this week of They Say, but we will be back again with another phenomenal guest.